Welcome back to the Keeping It Real with KC podcast. I, of course, am your host, KC Phoenix, and here we are. I have not done wacky news in a minute. I thought about that. I'm like, when is the last time I've done a wacky news story? So I have two wacky news stories for you. The first story is, can I whistle this morning? Yeah, got some of it out. It's still early in the morning. I'm still waking up, even though I'm awake, but still waking up. So yeah, and the truck just started up outside. But yeah. So the second wacky news story is a happy story because I wanted to close out on a good note. Before I go any further, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all these social media platforms. Okay, so we will start with the story. It happened in the UK. You know what? I think like two of my other stories from the last wacky news that I did came from the UK. So just throwing that out there. What's going on in the UK? So this is a little bit shocking. So warning up front. Teenager gets USB cable stuck inside his peen. I kid you not. It says, a teenage boy ended up in the hospital because he had a USB cable stuck in his... The incident was first documented in November 2021 urology case report. The 15-year-old claims that he was trying to measure inside his... which ultimately ended in his needing medical attention at the hospital. As it happened, the USB cable had become tangled and knotted while inside his body. There's a lot to process here. This resulted in blood loss through the boy's urine. The two distilled ports of the USB wire were found to be protruding from the external urethral meatus, while the middle part of the knotted wire remained within the urethra. The patient was an otherwise fit and healthy adolescent with no history of mental health disorders. The doctor report stated his mother took him to the medical facility, but when it came to telling the inside his part of the story, he only fessed up when his mom wasn't in the room. The UK boy said he had used the cable instead of a ruler as a means of experimentation. As attempts to remove the cable with the use of a metal rod were unsuccessful due to the amount of knotting that had happened, doctors were forced to do surgery on the boy to remove the cable. The doctors skillfully cut open the section between his genitalia and anus so they could gain access to the area where the cable was stuck. The procedure was explained by doctors as the two distal ports of the USB wire were found to be protruding from the external urethral meatus, whilst the middle part of the knotted wire remained within the urethra. The patient was an otherwise fit and healthy adolescent with no history of mental health disorders. They also said that both ends of the wire were pulled out successfully through the external urethral meatus. The boy... This is a lot to digest. Okay. The boy and inside his... both recovered well post-surgery and was discharged shortly afterwards. The urology doctors did say that, well, cases like this are not out of the ordinary. That particular case, or cases like this, are thought of as unusual. Experimentation and gratification, as well as underlying mental disorders, are considered the main causes of retain foreign bodies in the urethra and bladder. Management varies depending on the shape and size of the object and the mechanism of insertion, they said. Okay, that was a lot. That was a lot. I'm glad that he recovered. If there's anything that you can take from this story, be careful where you put objects. We'll leave that at that. Let's get to the fun story right now. So, Jose Flores Velasquez had purchased a 20 times the money scratcher. And he went to the Virginia Lottery Customer Service Center in Woodbridge, Virginia, because he was going to collect his $600. Mind you, this was a random thing. He actually bought the ticket at a grocery store while he was going to pick up some soft drinks. So it was just a random thing. When he went there to collect his $600 at the Virginia Lottery Customer Service Center, they were like, your ticket didn't win $600. They said, this ticket won $1 million. So he found out, so he went there to collect $600, but when he got there, he found out that he won $1 million. So he had the option. It was to take the $1 million over 30 years, which, the dollar is crashing right now. It would be funny if the dollar was still around over after 30 years, but these are minor details. So he had the $1 million 30-year option, or the cash option of $878. So $759,878 cash paid up. He took the cash, as he should. So yeah, the grocery store who sold the lottery ticket to him got a $10,000 bonus, which I don't really get. That I guess is more of an incentive to get places to sell lottery tickets maybe. But yeah, because really they're not doing anything but just selling the ticket. But whatever. And he said with his winnings, he will help his family and start a business. He's now starting his own business, which I think is amazing. I love entrepreneurship. I love when people go out and do their thing. So definitely Godspeed. Now, one thing I did not agree with is that he took a picture. Like, there's a picture from the article. You can see the picture of him holding the $1 million check. Let me tell you something. Now, you all have free will and you're grown. You can do what you want to do. If you win the lottery, don't tell anyone. Again, you're grown, you can do what you want to do. If you win the lottery, don't tell anyone. Keep it to yourself. If they're like, oh, you have to use your name, put it in a trust, and then have the trust go and collect the ticket. And do that instead, so your name isn't on this whole thing. And I'm not giving financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor, blah, 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 blah. But you can reach out to a financial advisor or an attorney, because usually it's the attorney. You have to sign the ticket over to the attorney, and then the attorney does all the paperwork and everything else, and then they go and collect the money. And then the money is in the trust name, and it's not in your name. That way, if people ever see stuff in the news, it'll just say under such and such trust. And yeah, they can look up the trust, but there's ways around it to mask it where it'll make it harder to find your name. It is what it will be. So yeah, if I ever win the lottery, I'm not telling a soul. Straight up. They're going to be like, it seems like you have money. Who said that? Who has money? What are you speaking of? What money do you speak of? So yeah, that's what I have for Wacky News. I gave you the crazy story and I gave you the happy ending story. I'm really, really happy for Jose. As for the kid in the UK, I hope things are much better, because again, this happened in November 2021 to him. But I hope that he's definitely, everything is functioning properly down there. So yeah, that is all I have. KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, Audible, and several other podcasting platforms. Please feel free to listen to this podcast on whatever platform is most convenient for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Till next time, be blessed.